The other one I wanted to highlight is not GIMP, it's Photopea. So if you click on this, that's a link to Photopea. It's going to look like this. Basically, what I like about Photopea is it's more or less a Photoshop clone. And I find that I like it because that way, if eventually you do want to get Photoshop, you'll be used to that. And if you already knew Photoshop, you don't have it now, you can use it, and it'll feel comfortable. You don't have to necessarily do anything crazy to try and learn a whole new program and go through all these tutorials. So we're just going to go ahead and start using Photopea. We will open a file from the computer. You can also just do a new project. And I'm going to go to desktop, go to cone site, and then we'll go to images. And I'm just going to grab this picture of myself and hit open. Okay. Now, I don't want to get into a bunch of the technical aspects of this. I'm just going to show you real quickly how to do a couple of things just so that you know how to do that. Okay. So first off, I might not want all of this, right? So maybe I want to crop this a little bit smaller so I just don't have the rest of this image. So you just want to use the crop tool. All right. That's one of the first things you want to do. So we're going to go crop tool right here. So if you hold it down, it'll give you, you'll see there's little tools underneath. That's what these little arrows stand for. I don't want to use free. That just means you can grab it and drag it wherever. I don't want to do that. I want a specific. Actually, you know, we will leave it free because I'm not worried about that. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go like this. And I'm just going to cut out any of this extra stuff that isn't really necessary. I don't need quite so much headroom. So we'll do something like that. And then I'll just hit enter, or you can hit this checkbox either way. And voila, now it'll crop it. Now the next thing I need to worry about is actually just the general scale of this. So if you recall, when we made this, I scroll down here, it's supposed to be 240 pixels wide. So I'm just going to make sure that that image is 240 pixels wide. So I'm just going to go to image, and then we're going to go to image size. And again, if you know Photoshop, you'll be able to do this no problem. You won't even need to watch this tutorial because it's very similar. There's little differences, but they're not too crazy. So what was it, 480? Was that what it was? I don't remember what I put in. Hang on a second. No, it's 240. It was half of that. Okay, so 240. Okay, so I'm going to do 240 pixels. Make sure it's locked, and then we'll hit OK. All right, good. Now I'm just going to Control+++. That's how you zoom in. I'm going to click off of that crop tool so it doesn't accidentally crop it. Yay. Okay, so now that's been chopped down. We got it the scale that we want. The next thing I need to do is I need to make just some general adjustments to it. I'm not going to go through all of these because there's definitely more you can do. I'm also not going to show you adjustment layers. We're not going to do it that way. The reason being, I might go through this in more depth in the future, but I don't want to spend too long on this. I just want you to be good enough to use your pictures as they currently are. I'm going to treat this like it's digital imaging 1 in the first class. You can just go to image adjustments, and then here you can make adjustments to your picture. It's just going to overall make adjustments to it. Okay. Now, the top ones all deal with value, meaning the light and darkness of it, like brightness, contrast, levels, exposure. Like if you think about a photograph, how long you expose the photograph will make it lighter or darker. The second section here is for color. This is sort of the fun stuff. So like there's invert. Doesn't hold up very long, does it? Invert, posterize, threshold will change everything from black and white. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, so for real basic adjustments, let's go ahead and I will choose, let's do levels. I always like levels. And basically what I can do is if we look at this, see how like the histogram here kind of ends? So if I go like this, if I go here, it's going to take where it's going to say white starts now here. Because notice that if you look and see how it's flat here, that means there's no pixels in this area anyway. So I'm going to make sure that the white starts over here. And then over here, this says where black starts. So if I start here, it means right about the mid value, it's going to take everything in mid value, past that becomes black. So obviously I don't want to do that. I'm just going to punch that up here. And then this will generally kind of make contrast almost, the middle. It'll shift just overall the hue. So I'm just going to lighten it up a real touch, like so. You can also click auto if you really want to be cheap about it. Let's do image adjustments again, and let's just do some general adjustments. I'm going to choose vibrance. What vibrance will do is it will add more hue to the image. It'll make it more colorful. So that's what saturation and vibrance do. Saturation will do it as a whole, makes everything more colorful. Vibrance will go for the midtones, meaning not the dark areas and not the light areas. It'll go for the middle ground, which most of the time that's usually where your skin tone should be. So that's why I'm just going to up my vibrance. I suggest upping the vibrance first and then doing the other one. So I'm just going to up the vibrance a little bit. Okay. Yay. I don't want to go through a whole bunch of them, but that's the idea of how you would go through and make some general adjustments onto the image. The last thing, I think it's the last thing, let me go. The second to last thing, because we need to save it as well, is if you want to remove the background, there are some ways of doing it. Now, this is not an easy picture. I do have a kind of a definitive line, but I'm just going to show you roughly how to do it in here. I'm going to go to the magic wand, and then there's this object selection tool. Let's see how well this works. So what you want to do is I'm just going to start in the bottom here, and I'm going to try and generally select my person, and it did a terrible job. So that didn't work. So we're going to go to select and go deselect. So let's try doing, try quick selection. So basically, as you brush, it's going to kind of seep into the edges. There we go. So I click. I'm going to kind of click in here. You can see it missed a little there. Okay. So I'm just kind of clicking. I'm going to control plus, and I want to remove this. I'm going to change the brush size by using the bracket keys to the right of the P key. So those make them bigger and smaller. I'm going to hold Alt, which will turn into a minus. And then I'm just going to click back here and then hit Alt again and Alt. So Alt will invert it. So if you look up here, Alt means it'll remove. If I hold Alt down, hang on, see? Hopefully you can see that. So Alt, it removes it. It doesn't show it on the cursor, which is kind of annoying. So as I want to remove stuff, I hold Alt down to remove stuff, and I just click like regular to add stuff, okay? So there's a little too much here, and I'll just click back in there. So it's not 100%, and again, I would take digital imaging if I were you and you want to get a little bit better. If I'm super worried about it, you can go to here to the other, they do have the magnetic lasso. Okay, magnetic lasso, I'm going to hold Alt because I want to take away. So I'm going to hold Alt, and I'm going to click and go like this, and it'll try to stick to the edges, and I'm going to click and go like, okay, didn't really undo that. Let's just use regular polygonal lasso. So I'm going to hold Alt again, and this will just create a shape, and I'm just going to double click around. Okay, so I want to take away some of this. So this is not the magnetic one. I'm going to hold Alt, click, and click, and click, and click, and click, and click, and then I'm going to double click, and it will remove that section. Okay, there's a little bit more here too. So click, and click, and click, click, and click, and click, and double click. All right, that's the rough idea of it. I could do a much better job, but I don't really want to go too nuts with that right now. Like I said, it's not the best image to do. So I don't want to select him. I want to select the background. So I'm going to take my selection and I'm going to inverse it. And then you can hit delete. Hopefully. Delete. There it goes. Okay. And then I'll just go select and deselect. And now I've removed the background. And if you want, you can go through and use the eraser here. You could also just done this through the eraser and just hold space bar. Come on. There you go. Space bar will allow you to pan. And then you can kind of erase off anything that you wanted to. Okay? I'm going to say that I didn't want to do that, though. I'm not going to do all that because it doesn't look very good anyway. But that's a real quick way of removing a background. There's more to it. You can definitely look it up, and you'll find things on the internet that will be a good way of doing that. Okay. So let's say we're happy and we know it. We clap our hands. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to save this. So just File, export as, and you can see it gives us different options. So there's even WebP, which is one of the file formats I forgot to mention. This is a general photo. It doesn't have transparency, and it's a picture of somebody. So I want to use a JPEG. Okay, so either PNG or JPEG are probably the two you want to do, but I don't need transparency, so JPEG makes sense. I do not want to use GIF. So we're gonna go ahead and do JPEG, and then that all looks good. We'll hit save. And then it's going to have it as a downloadable file. And then all you're going to do is, you can see it has it right there. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to make a new tab here. I'm going to go to my downloads. Here it is right here. So go to your downloads folder. I'm going to Control C to copy, or Command C. I'm going to go to my images here. And then I'll hit Control V. And now I'm going to replace that file and destination. Now, if that's confusing, just go ahead and take that and then Control V. And what will happen is that now, because that has the exact same name, it will be replaced when we go to open up our site. So when I go like this, that's now the new picture. Notice it's cut off and everything. If for some reason it's being weird and it's not replacing it properly, you could just paste it in there with a different name. All you have to do is just go here and just make sure you change the name to whatever the new name is. Okay? But that's the rough way about how you're going to make some adjustments just using Photopea. Okay? So I'm not expecting you guys to do like a super great job on any of the images that you use. I just want you to do most of what I did. I want you to make sure that the image size of your image is the same as what is in the web page. Okay, so like I define this as 240. The actual pixels of the image should also be 240. You'll notice when I hover over this, see how it says dimensions 240 by 301? So I know it's 240. So that's what I'm expecting. Hopefully that makes sense. So try to make adjustments to your images. Hopefully this made sense. I try to do it as quickly as possible. Still end up being kind of a long video. Good luck.